Hello! About a week or so ago, someone asked in my comments, like why I was using all of my team. They also wanted to know like which fighters were best to develop, like which normal fighters are best developed, like non-legendaries. And with the fighter Proving Grounds event up like this, I thought this would be a good time to talk about this. It'd be a good topic for a video, so I'm gonna talk about like why Olive is one of the fighters I chose, or why I think she's a good fighter to choose if you're developing fighters, but also which fighters you should choose. So there are 8 different fighters, like in this, like I said, 8 different fighters. Besides like in the regular ones. Sometimes you can actually buy like individual bone stuff. Oh wait, you go to exchange, you can actually see the different fighters ones. Different fighters. There's 8 fighters here. If you can maybe even buy, can we look at it? Not gonna. Oh, here it is. Drop rates right here. So here you go. So there's 8 different fighters. Normal fighters that are not legendary, or like the generic one, like said. So, right. So there is Gaston, Gandalf, Olive, Elise, Ophelia, Elda, Benjamin, and Chloe. Of those, I actually only think 3 of them are the ones you should consider developing, and I'm gonna explain why. So let's just start with Gandalf. Gandalf is like one of the ones a lot of people might think is worth developing, right? So if you go to like no, it's on the wrong island. Adventures log, right? A Gandalf. Let's go find a Gandalf. I should just turn off the other classes. Hold on. So Gandalf is... I know I have one. Where is he? He's right here. So Gandalf, he is, like I said, he's a human fighter. Yeah, I said he has an interesting personality, but the main reason people want to use him is his ability. Like his passive ability reduces SP costs on fighter skills that cost 6 or less, which seems like a good ability. It is super good in the early game because of the way skills work for fighters. Like, you're generally going to want to level them up, and the skills you're going to use late game are all going to cost more than 6 SP, so that skill kind of loses value in the long run. But also, more importantly though, when we talk about like leveling up skills and doing high level skills, one of those skills you're going to want to level up and use is going to be heavy attack, and Gandalf is the guy you use to inherit heavy attack on characters. Right, so getting heavy attack, right, as I said, it's a modern physical attacks, high accuracy on one enemy. Really good skill to teach to all your frontliners, like anybody you're doing like melee damage with. And leveling this up to like level 3+, is really important for especially your fighters. But even like I said, if you can get a lot of Gandalfs, you can also do this on like a knight or something. But like just like said, Gandalfs, like you can never have too many Gandalf because you want to get this skill up as high as you can on all your melee fighters. So Gandalf ends up being a really important one for inherits. So you don't really want to develop him because that means you can't use him for inherits. Similarly, there is Ophelia. I said Ophelia, like I said, she has a bonus. She does bonus damage to flying enemies. Like, so it's actually not a bad skill. Like I said, because there are lots of flying enemies in the game. Maybe not as good as some of the other skills, but it's there are still enough flying enemies to make this fairly useful skill. Ophelia's inherit is counterattack. Counterattack is like really important ability for all your frontliners. So it gives you a chance to counterattack when evading a close range attack. It also increases based on skill level. So higher luck, higher skill level, higher chance of countering attack. So all your frontliners want counterattack, especially if they have high or even moderate evasion. Like this will get you free hits, free damage, right? So on the higher levels, being able to do more damage is, kind of a key. And counterattack, again, super important ability that you really need to develop, like I said, because this is a lot of fights, like boss races, like I said, sometimes the best defense in this game is a strong offense, and you need to be able to do more damage. And any skill that gives you free damage is super good. Therefore, Ophelia is, too valuable as an inherit to actually develop. And the third one you don't want to actually develop is Elda. Similar to Ophelia, Elda gives you follow-up attack. Follow-up attack is like an extra hit on your basic attack. Right, so if you have a sword that has 2 hits, you have a chance of doing a 3rd hit. If you have like a 2-handed weapon that does 1 hit, you have a chance of doing a 2nd hit. You can also activate follow-up attacks on counterattack, so there's a lot of synergy there. So getting both those skills to high level can get you a lot of free damage. And that adds up. Free damage, like I said, free damage is super good. So you don't want to use develop Elda. Like I said, so it's just, those 3 I'd say are pretty much off limits for actually developing as a character. There's 2 others I think you're maybe develop. There is Benjamin. He is a dwarf. He is kind of slow though. Like he only has like 7 speed base. So it's pretty bad unless you get a Benjamin that starts with 8 speed. It's really hard for me to recommend him, and you probably want to put all bonus points you have for him into speed if you do use him. It is important to note that Benjamin is just one of 2 of these fighters who get extra attack on discipline, so he does end up with a pretty good physical attack rating, because he does, like, when you do disciplines, right, the only, like I said, he gets extra physical attack, so that does help his damage. Plus he's a dwarf, so he has pretty decent strength and dexterity to start with, so that's good. But part of what you don't want to do Benjamin is he has this passive HP up, which continuously increase HP, right? You can use this as inherit. And the main reason you'd want this skill is on your mages or maybe your thieves, some of your squishier characters, right? Like on the high levels, like a lot of your mages can literally be one shot by a lot of enemies if they have too low of health. So using, inherits like Benjamin on your mages can keep them alive. Like, and you do, like I said, you want to keep your characters alive. Like I said, the farther you get in the go in the game, the harder enemies hit. So having more health is super important. Benjamin, like I said, he's somebody you want to have a skill on all your mages and maybe your thieves. If you're, like I said, some of the elf thieves can be kind of squishy. So putting that on, them to help them survive can be really important. And then Gaston, similar to Benjamin, Gaston, I'd say, not quite as important as Benjamin, but he has a passive attack power up. Again, this is another skill that can really help all your frontliners. It's kind of a minor up, but I mean, it does add up. Like if you can get this to level, 3 or 4 or whatever on your fighters, they will do like that. They will get that extra 8 or 10 physical attack. Like I said, that's, in the grand scheme of things, might not seem like a lot, but it does add up. Like I said, and every point of attack does matter. Can just can make the difference between doing a few more damage or not. That maybe need 1 less hit to kill a boss, right? So using Gastons for leveling up the damage on your fighters, your other physical attackers, I'd say is super important. I mean, he's, like I said, this one's not, I wouldn't say as must have some of the other skills, but I still think this is an important skill to develop. And that leaves us with just Elise, Chloe, and Olive as the ones I would develop. Right, let's talk about Elise, who I think is probably the best fighter, like the best non-legendary fighter. And part of what makes Elise so good is that her passive skill, if the character directly in front of her or directly behind her is neutral aligned, both Elise and that character get a damage bonus. It's like a 10% damage bonus, and far as I know, it stacks with the damage bonuses from Lanavel or Alice. So let's say you have Elise in the front row next to Lanavel, and then you have a Katharina right directly behind her, right? And maybe you also have Alice in the back row, you should be able to get both the damage, the attack bonus for Elise and Elise should have both her own damage bonus plus Lanavel's on her, and a Katharina should have both Elise's damage bonus and Alice's on her. Like I said, super, super good skill. This is a really, like I said, I'd say probably the biggest reason, Elise, I'd say, is probably the best of the regular fighters, because that is, I mean, I wouldn't say super good, but it's a 10% damage bonus, and for a neutral line character, it's, like I said, it's not too bad. And plus her inherited skill, Armor Break, it's not that good. It's okay to teach on a few other characters, but leveling up, I've not been too impressed. I have it to rank 3 on my main character, and I just don't see much of a difference between rank 1 and rank 3 on that skill. There's some skills that are worth leveling up. I don't think Armor Break, you don't miss out too much if you don't level that one up. So at least a good character to level up as a fighter. I'd say probably the best fighter to actually level up. Her strength's kind of low because she's an elf, but that damage bonus, again, super nice. And then there's Chloe. Chloe is the only fighter who is a beast folk. And as a beast folk, she has good speed, good strength, and good vitality, which are all good stats for a fighter. She also has pretty decent stats. She has like 14 dex, I think, base, but she gets like 15 speeds, 15 strength, 15 vitality, or something like that. Just super good stat spread, which just makes her, like I said, she has good skills, scores, and like all of the stats you want as a fighter. Like, and let's see what her stat spread. We can just look at her, like, but yeah, look, so we got, yeah, 15 strength, 15 vitality, 15 speed, 14 dexterity. Just great scores. It's probably probably the best, like, scores of, like, any of the fighters besides maybe Benjamin, but Benjamin has terrible speed, so, like, the only thing she's really lacking is luck. So she's, like I said, just super solid. Her inherit skill, Warrior Battle Cry, not that great. You do not miss out on much if you can't level that one up. Right, so the problem with, like, Warrior Battle Cry is that, well, at the early game, Warrior Battle Cry can be really good. Really good in early game, but it really... problem is, like, because it causes you to lose your own, decrease your own defense power, it ends up being kind of a suicidal ability. Like, leveling up does give you a better attack power bonus, but... you know, the skill does become kind of suicidal the farther into the game you go. This skill, I'd say, is probably a bit more important. Like, if you are going to use it to Warrior Battle Cry, this isn't the worst skill to level up. I do think it's more valuable than leveling up, say, Armor Break. But, like I said, this skill, like, I used it a whole lot in the early game. I don't use it much these days just because it's, like, too many enemies will one-shot you if you take that defense penalty. So it's just... you know, like, so you're not losing that much by developing Chloe. Instead, if you have a fighter, you want to level it up to, like, rank 3 on, you need 4 Chloes, which is, you know, that's kind of a lot, but it's doable. You can totally, you know, inherit it on one character or whatever on Chloe. Like, maybe you're using Chloe as your fighter, you still want to do it on her. You could probably make that work, though I would probably try to get her at least to, like, you know, discipline rank, like 3 or 4 first before you try getting your Warrior Battle Cry up. But yeah, I do think that one, you're not missing out too much on that one either. But yeah, Chloe, good stats. In Chloe's secondary class, if you ever get her book, is a knight. She can become a knight. Also, Elise can become a knight too. I didn't mention that. Elise can become a knight, and Chloe can become knights as their secondary class, which will get them some more defensive skills. Defensive skills, like I said, like make sure you're at least level 54 though, because you need all those warrior skills. Knights are kind of a meh class, and you do definitely want all the skills you get at level 54 as a fighter. Like, that's the last skill you get as a fighter right now is level 54, so make sure you're at least level 54 before each class change, either Chloe or Elise. And this leaves, and last but not least, is Olive. The character that, I was asked about when I started this building. Like I said, my Olive is level 60. I've developed her. She is, like, mine is, like, discipline rank 5. Right? She has, like, all the stuff. Right? Her heavy attack has rank 3. She even has rank 3 stun bash, treasure trap, detection skills, level 3. Like, we have, all this stuff on her. Like, we just, like said, she's been... kind of like MVP in a lot of fights. She is my best fighter, like I said, because she's discipline rank 5. Part of the advantage of using regular adventures is it's easier to discipline them, right? Because like I said, we're discipline rank 5, like versus like say a legendary, like a limited time legendary, like Venus. I only have her discipline rank 2 because she was a limited time character, and I, who knows when I'll get bones from her again, right? This is part of why you would want to invest in these regular fighters. But back to Olive, though. So if we go to, like, her inherits, right? You go to, like, her inherit skill, Will to Live, is terrible. Her inherit skill is legit garbage. This skill increases accuracy, evasion, and surety when HP is below a certain level. Right. Like, this is only activates if you are, like, low health. And as far as I can tell, these are pretty minor bonuses. You can level up the skill a bit to get more bonuses out of this, but, I would rather just not be critical health personally. But also, like, it's just not a skill, like I said, it's just not a skill that is really that beneficial. It only activates when you're critical health, and it's only actually evasion surety. On the high levels, surety almost, like, against, like, some of the tougher enemies, like, surety almost never activates. Evasion's good, can maybe help you, like, not take that fatal blow, but I'd rather just not be at critical health. Accuracy, If you need an accuracy bonus, you probably don't have enough accuracy already. So it's just one of those things, those abilities that's just not good. Like, it's so bad that honestly, my hot take on Olive, if you are not using her, you should probably, she's a good candidate for dismiss for tags. But part of one of the advantages of using Olive is her discipline. She has a really good discipline, is that she gets extra physical attack. She's the only fighter along with Benjamin who gets extra physical attack. She also gets detect, right, which is actually pretty good because her secondary class is thief, so getting more detect could help her as a thief. So like I said, you know, because like I said, detect's important for thieves. But yeah, she's pretty good though, because again, physically, like I said, she does have low strength because she's an elf, but because she gets better physical attack as a with disciplines, she kind of makes up for that. Yeah, no, really solid character. I mean, like her skill, honestly, we should talk about that one. That one's actually, it's a solid skill. It's not as good, it's not nearly as good as Elise's skill though. Elise's skill, you know, is way better. Honest Living, what happens is if Olive, so increases tolerance of cure, curse, skill binding fear for user and all adjacent good allies. Right, so Olive herself is neutral, but she needs to be adjacent to a good ally for the skill to activate, and so long as there's at least one good ally next to her and any good allies adjacent to her gain this extra protection against these chase effects, which actually is super nice. You know, skill binding, you know, could be really annoying on a fighter, like, and it does seem to work because I noticed like my front line gets skill bound a lot less than my back line. Like I said, for most of the game, I've had her in the middle of my front line between Abenius and Lanavel, who are both good aligned. So this could be, she could be a really good character for a good front line. Like if you have a good line front line, like I said, she's neutral, but again, Lanavel, like Abenius, both good. Like I said, worked pretty well. Kind of moved off the Lanavel right now, but like I said, so those are my thoughts. I'd say those are the three you would focus on. I'd say Elise probably the top tier. But like I said, Olive getting extra strength when you discipline her, extra attack power when you discipline her, pretty good. But yeah, not too much more to talk about that. Like I said, this is, like I said, we do have the fighter proving grounds. You need to have at least 2 other fighters along with your main character to actually do this event. So I thought this would be a good time to talk about this topic. And you know, like if you want to do this event, you might need to power level a couple of fighters to do it. The rewards are really good, so I totally recommend trying to get as many rewards from that event as you can. Like if you go with exchange, a lot of great rewards here. Also book class change books to turn some of these characters into fighters, including Lanavel's book if you wanted to make Lanavel into a fighter. So super good event. But yeah, I did a full video about that, which you can find down below. As always, thank you for watching.